Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight. What do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals. I only speak to people who are actually active in this industry and who've done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can put the right information out there that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. All right, it is a Friday. It is a holiday weekend. Some of you guys are already pulling your fucking hair out. And then there's a lot of us who are sitting back and waiting for the ones who are pulling their hair out to give up for the day and let all those other opportunities fall into our laps. I got a guest today. We're going to talk about produce. We're going to talk about what the hell is going on out there in that market. But before I do any of that, as always, you guys, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers. Especially right now, it seems like in some markets, we definitely need access to trailers. And this is especially great for my small fleets, my owner ops out there, because you should never have to put your operation on hold if you have a trailer in the shop, and you get paid to move these. And then also out there, if you're out there selling drop trailer, or you're looking at some of these enterprise level shippers, they need drop trailer capacity. Now on VHub, you can do that. So what they're working on right now, they got Staunton, Wisconsin going to Milton, Ontario. And for $350, you get paid $350 US per trailer to move these over there, you guys. There's like 140 of these. And again, you can bring them down to the Chicago area and run them across into the Toronto area. They just got to end up in Milton. And again, you guys, there's a ton of freight that moves on that lane. We also have Chattanooga, Tennessee going out to Clinton, Oklahoma, and you get 400 US to do that. And now they have a bunch of trailers in San Diego, like 175 of them. I just put it going into the Dallas market here, but they literally have them going to Chicago, Dallas, Arkansas, Memphis, Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Houston, Texas, Laredo, Texas, Charlotte, Atlanta, Minneapolis, you name it. And it ranges between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer to move those, you guys. And that's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading them out. Now that rate expires, those rates expire on June 2nd. And then finally, we got Paragould, Arkansas going up to Mississauga, Ontario, and you get 730 US to do that per trailer, you guys. And again, there's like 140 of them, 130 of them out there. Drop trailer pool, you name it. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. Yes, Charles Richardson, vhubapp.com is where you hit it up and go over there, you guys. And just do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair, she's watching over on YouTube. Vitaly Becker, he's watching. He's bridging our American and Canadian relations as always. And Andrew Teal, I've been pronouncing it Staunton. Is it Stoughton? Is that how I pronounce? I don't know, man. We're both from Wisconsin, Andrew Teal. We just carry our A's and our O's really hard out there. Let me see. Rick Wooten, good morning, Orange Team. All right. I'm going to bring my man up. He's back. He's the produce guy for me. Like I know produce, but Cody like breathes this shit, and he is in and out of this. So Cody, what is up, man? Happy Friday for this holiday weekend. What's going on?
What's going on, buddy?
Oh, dude, same as you. I am out here trying to make everything happen one truckload at a time. What's been going on in your world, man? Because like I did a little bit of prep for this call, which is almost unheard of because I barely ever prep for a lot of my conversations, because I like shooting from the hip. But I'm out here looking at a lot of the produce markets. I pulled up Nogales, Arizona alone, and there was like 800 load postings, not truck postings, 800 load postings to 48 truck postings in the Nogales and Rio Rico area. And then I pulled up Tampa, Florida as well. And there was like almost 600. It was, sorry, not trying to over sensationalize. It was a little over 500 load postings to about 80 trucks posting out there just in those two markets alone.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, Nogales is getting hammered right now. This is actually probably the worst we've seen Nogales for a little bit. From our understanding, some of that is because of the slowdown at the border. We've been seeing trucks take a lot longer to cross the border. So we're seeing delay. We're seeing some delays. I mean, I can think of 2 trucks last week that were delayed at least 48 hours getting loaded down there. So yeah, Nogales is super hot right now. I think Florida is actually probably the hottest in the nation right now. Florida is booming right now. It's a very short-lived season over there in Florida, though. So the next probably 6 weeks, May, June is typically really hot out of Florida. So carriers definitely, if you can move your equipment over there, you're going to get good outbound rates for the short period of time. Everybody knows the rest of the year Florida sucks for outbound rates, but right now you're definitely going to get some money out of Nogales and out of Florida. California, though, the thing is the California market's big enough that it actually moves the needle. The Florida market's usually not big enough that it moves the needle that drastically. So, California, we're starting to see a rebound, though. I was in Salinas last week, actually. And it does look like, the second harvest, the first harvest kind of got, delayed, pushed back a little bit because of all the weather that they had. But it does look like we're going to have a strong second harvest. It still looks like numbers are down a little bit from last year, but not as drastic as we were thinking. So, I know that Dean Croak and I have talked about it before, and I read something that he had published yesterday, and he's phrasing it pretty well, where it's a delayed start, but we're predicting a strong finish this year. So, California's starting to pick up. I mean, it's not a normal year out of there by any means, but it is starting to pick up.
Yeah, it's dude, because I'm just pulling up random lanes right now, because obviously, although I did go to public school, I am a data nerd and I do like to read this stuff, mainly for I like picture books, right? So it's like I get to see the graphic stuff. But no, it's like I'm looking at this, and just over the last 15 days alone, 15 days out of Nogales going into LA, the rates have raised 45 cents a mile. 45 cents a mile in 15 days. Yes, you can say, oh, fucking whatchamacallit, DOT Blitz Week last week and everything. And it's true, that plays into it, but that doesn't increase at 45 cents a mile in that time frame alone. And then, we're looking into Tampa. I'll just pull up Tampa because that was the other one. And I'll just pull it going up into the Carolinas right now. And let's see. It has, there was a spike on that going to Charlotte. I'm just looking into different lanes out here quick just to show the drastic increases that happen out there. And yeah, and the same thing like that Florida. So do you see, because that one's actually held kind of consistent out here, out of Florida. Is that because I've seen them say that they've shifted into utilizing vented vans out of Florida now just to make up for it? Are they shipping? Because you were saying watermelons are moving pretty hot out there. Can you ship watermelons on dry vans?
On short distances, yeah.
Short distances. Okay, what's that threshold then for those people out there? Because, dude, I get a lot of DMs from people, even about like, hey, what niche do I choose? Like, how do I choose something like that? What's the length of haul that we're talking about where you can move these on a dry van?
Usually, if it's turnable, if you can actually make it to your destination before you actually take your layover, anything that's going to sit more than 24 hours, you're probably not going to. Hopefully, shouldn't load you on a vented van. But anything less than that, so you're talking probably around 600-700 miles.
Okay,
for the most part.
I got it.
Anything OTR, obviously, you're going to have on a reefer, and then a lot of that is still going to depend on the weather over there too. If it's 110 degrees, they're probably not going to, be shipping you on a vented van, but.
For sure.
Yep.
So how do you accurately price this outside of going to greenscreens.ai /the freight coach and checking that out? But because I utilize, obviously I utilize Greenscreen. Like they're a partner of mine on the show, but I also use them inside of my brokerage to price out lanes and stuff. And when you're looking at these rate spikes, decreases, and everything else, it's great to see. Like I'm a big fan of using multiple data sets, right? Like internal data, my brain power, which it is there, and then utilizing a tool like Greenscreens to really see like how do I accurately price this stuff out, but most importantly, how do I keep it consistent? Because like this weekend is one of those ones where when there is a ton of fall off freight, it gives people that. Do I overprice it for this one, or do I have a truck that can actually move it for the rates I have been quoting, right? So it's like, how do you work through stuff like that?
I mean, for us at least, it just depends on if you already have some carriers in in the wings or if you're going to hit the boards. I mean, we try and avoid the boards as much as we can, but holiday week right now with as hot as like Nogales is and as hot as Florida is, it's just working with your carriers, making sure that you're communicating with them. Yes, I understand it's a holiday week, rates are up, but in order for us to work together on this, customer needs X. It's just communication, right? I mean, you know that as well as I do. Like, it's communicating with your customer. For us, if customers are reaching out saying, hey, I got these loads, I can't get them covered, I'll pay whatever it takes. We're not going to mark them up, 20%. That's not being a good partner. At that point in time, we're going to go to our regulars and make sure that we're going to get the best truck available, get the best price that's going to work for the carrier. We want the carriers to make money this weekend as well. And then just go from there. But I mean, these are the weekends that as a broker, you can take two routes, right? You can try and mark up everything because you know that there's going to be demand, or you can be a good partner. I guess it depends on the customer. If it's a long-term, customer, most of our stuff is contract. So, if I have a contracted customer that we work with, it's going to reach out to me. I'd take a loss this weekend. It is what it is, right? That's being a broker.
Yeah. No, I think that's very sound advice, right? Because it is that, I mean, we've all been there, right? Yep. We're all tempted to upcharge. We're all tempted to do all of that. But, this is such a short window, right? Like at the overall thing. And, because I don't know if me and you have talked about this on the show, but I know that this has been mentioned on the show before, it's like, say Cody and I are both hit up by the same shipper out of Nogales, Arizona for freight for this weekend in particular. Cody holds firm at his pricing, say $2,000 on whatever lane, just for, this is all arbitrary. This isn't fucking real. So I don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah. Round numbers.
Yeah. But again, simple math. And then I come in and raise my rates $400. The customer's probably going to give us both freight, right? Like, because they need the capacity, and especially we're both getting the freight done. But when this short window goes away and things go back down and start to calm down, where are they going to go? Right? Who are they going to go to first? Are they going to go to the partner that held firm as much as possible in those moments? Or are they going to go to the person who, I mean, we'll call it what it is. Some people take advantage of the market, the weekend and everything else, and they upcharge a very high amount. But and again, I get it. I want to make money too. I'm a capitalist. I love fucking making money, but I believe in responsible ways of going about this because I know that freight moves 12 months out of the year. And I want to ensure that I continue to get that revenue coming through. So how do you work with your team on this stuff, right? Like, how do you work with them to really stand out, right? Because there's like you said, there's two crowds right now that are out there. There's the crowd that's like, fuck it, let's just move it. We know all right, we're going to make the same amount of money. We got the same carriers. And then there's those guys who's got like fucking dollar signs only. They're like, let's fucking get it out there. Yeah.
I mean, it's, what we always say is you got to plan for the slow times, right? This time it is what it is. This is the time that you need to take care of your carriers. You need to make sure that you're there for your customers. Carriers need to make money too, right? I mean, this isn't all just about us. You got to take care of your partners. So these are the weeks that, obviously we are going to pay our carriers a little bit more than a normal week. Hopefully they don't gouge us to where we don't get any business outside of our contract stuff. But, team wise, it's the same thing. Like they focus on, who's going to give us freight next Tuesday, next Wednesday, right? Not who's going to give us freight today. Everybody can get freight today because, people are going to have carriers failing all over this weekend. It is what it is. But the main focus is, who's going to give us freight next week? Who's going to give us freight the week after that? And to your point, if we hold firm on our capacity as well as our rates, we're going to be the one that they go to. After the 4th of July, which is typically when produce rates start to slide pretty hard up until November, that's what we focus on. This month and next month, it is what it is. We're just here for the customers, right? We're here to take care of everybody. And we know that we'll make some money later on in the year. So, that's brokering 101, right?
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. Louis Montano, good morning. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Louis, what is up, my man? Let's go. Erica Hamilton says, good morning, boss. Shouldn't she be working right now? Why is she? Right? Yeah, I'm just thanks for tuning in, Erica. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning. I did not hear about this, that fellow SBI agent passed away. Damn, man. I'm going to have to reach out and find out that. Fuck, you're right. Damn. Jason, what is up, my man? He says, let's make some fucking money this week. Andrew Teal, very good. Very good sound advice. Double check with your receivers are open Monday rather than guess. Call the receiver direct. Last thing we want is that Sunday night, Monday from the carrier saying they're closed. We need an answer now. What am I doing? And you're in delay over something else to make all the freight involved rather than just move. Yeah, exactly. You need to be getting ahead of this stuff. I would hope you guys would have already called everybody earlier this week. But yes, Andrew is completely right. Get ahead and because it is like there's so much stuff that can go wrong on these holiday weekends. And then, especially in the reefer market, like with you, Matt, know, Modi, like there's, if you're not validating stuff and double checking and triple checking everything, like this is where, again, I'd be pissed off too, right? Like I as a driver, especially if you're leaving home thinking that the delivery is on Monday when it's actually on Tuesday. It's just shit like that. Like it just drives people up the wall. It drives me up the wall. And then furthermore, it just looks bad to your customer too.
Absolutely.
Right? Man, it's so frustrating to see this stuff and how it continues to go on. But it's also like on the flip side for somebody out there like me who's prospecting and building my book of business, this is what you get when you work with me, because I do that shit. That's second nature. Not everybody does that, but there's an opportunity. Like I see a lot of this as an opportunity, but it's also like I'm out here openly advocating, just like Cody is too, for best practices for you guys all to apply this stuff and implement this stuff and get a meaningful difference in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it goes for the shippers too, right? Make sure that you're verifying who's actually going to load on Monday, who's not, because if you're booking your trucks early, like most people are going to for Monday, your truck shows up to a shipper and it's closed because you didn't verify that it wasn't open. You're going to have a very pissed off truck. So do your due diligence. I mean, every holiday is the same, right?
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing too. Every holiday is the same, man. And it's just like, how do we not progress? Right. We don't need to get on that fucking rabbit hole. So dude, what's been, so we were talking about California. The last time you were on, there was a big emphasis on California. The weather wasn't, obviously they lost early crop in a majority of the market. What are you seeing out there again from your business, maybe the conversations you're having with the growers and the customers and everything? What are things looking like out of California? I bring up California because that was kind of the one focal point on our last call where we were like, it was kind of dodgy a little bit.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up. I mean, we are definitely anticipating a very active, 4th of July, which is going to be the next big event, especially for produce. And we don't know where demand's going to fall after that. That's kind of the big question, right? But it does look like, from the growers' perspective, things are definitely, getting back to normal. Like I said, I was out in Salinas last week, and it looks like the crops are getting back to where they should be. So, good thing is now we actually do have the water. So that's a positive thing. The reservoirs and lakes are all full. So, they still have some snowpack, I believe, that's going to be melting off, as it heats up out there. So, California is definitely expected to pick up. I know that there's still a lot of extra capacity out there in California, from what I read anyways. So we're not sure exactly where it's going to fall after this weekend, but I do anticipate June to be pretty busy out of California. And then also, the Washington cherry season. A lot of people don't talk about that, but I got a report last week from our partners up there that they're actually anticipating an 80 to 100% increase in crop this year. Whether demand's going to be there or not, that's the only question, but there will be a lot of freight to move up there. So, carriers who are maybe new to the industry, you get a short 6 to 8 week window up there in Washington where cherries go crazy. Which is really like the second week of June. We've actually already seen a few cherry shipments start. Looks like it started a little bit early, but second week of June through July, rates do tend to go up quite a bit because there's so much activity up there. But we're hearing that that's going to be a very positive crop this year.
Dude, that's really good, especially out of that market in particular, right? Because I mean, historically, Oregon, Washington is dog shit.
Yeah, it's dead on.
Yeah, it really is. How does that affect like the other produce markets, for example, because like obviously there's freight that's going to move out of Nogales and out of California up into Washington, Oregon. How do you work with, how do you work with your carriers to start like round tripping them, right? Because like that's another component of this where I'm like always about like, dude, I want to reuse the same carriers time and time again, right? Like I want to keep those carriers running for me direct, because I personally feel my philosophy, well, this is my philosophy: keep your carriers and your customers off the fucking load boards, right? Keep them running direct for you. So it's like, how do you sell that capacity, right? Because I feel like, produce is one of those things that every single freight broker in North America does, right? Like that, they're all going to say that they do produce. How do you effectively do it better than everybody else, though? Like, how do you position that?
A lot of it's just conversation with your carriers. We have a lot of carriers. I mean, we've been doing produce for the last 20 years, right? So we have a lot of carriers that have worked with us for a very long time. But it's having those conversations with it. Some of their drivers are comfortable moving where the freight's at. Some of them are comfortable on the same lane 12 months out of the year. It doesn't matter, right? They like the same lane, same backhaul, whatever it is. But it's getting in front of those guys. We utilize a lot of AI when it comes to capacity management. And so we have our own load board. There's a lot of our carriers that are like, oh, hey, I didn't know that this, that you guys ran this lane. And they're able to see that now that we've been utilizing that the last year. And that's opened some doors for us, but it's having those conversations with them. Some of your carriers are only going to run, like for us, California to the Northeast. That's like a power lane for us, right? We run a ton up to the Northeast. A lot of those guys aren't going to want to go up to Washington. But all of my guys that are, California to Washington, Arizona to California, it's having a conversation with them and saying, hey guys, we can round trip you. This is the time to do it. You got 8 weeks to go up to Washington, grab some cherry loads for me. I want you on my cherry loads because they're high dollar. You're a great carrier. You got great service. I want you on those. You want to be on them because they're going to pay more. It's just getting in front of your carriers. Like I said, we try not to use the load boards. And to your point, the best brokers out there are making sure that their carriers and their customers aren't utilizing the load boards. No offense, DAT, we love you guys, but so it's just having those conversations. I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And like, I'm not anti-load board, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, never, ever, ever, ever use one, because in my opinion, load boards are the most effective way to find capacity based on the lanes that you're trying to run, right? But my whole thing is, hey, after you book the same carrier a few times, like, why are you going to a load board to find capacity? That's what I mean by that. I'm not anti-load board by any stretch of the imagination, because it's a lot more effective than fucking Googling flatbed carriers, Phoenix, Arizona. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But like, my whole thing is the strategy is finding those carriers, right? Because you can build up a little matrix right there. Like, there's guys who are going to run Nogales to LA up to Yakima back down into Phoenix, right? Like that, you can loop a lot of those. So for me is it's like, why are you looking at 3 load opportunities as 3 separate load postings out there on a load board? You should be looking, how do I marry these drivers up to keep that continuous loop running? And that's, as a broker, like, that has to be your strategy. It's not, because you can't look at it, at least from my perspective, at least the way that I utilize and sell the capacity. Because I mean, as a broker, that's what you're doing, right? I'm not selling to a shipper, hey, I can take your freight and post it. It's no, this is the region that we run. This is kind of our strategy. This is what you get with us. And I think that if you can take that, like, that's an actual capacity management solution you can sell to a shipper. You can get out there and utilize that and marry those same carriers up. Because again, in any market, no matter what, like, why are we working against ourselves, right? Like, I don't care if you can make an extra fucking $100 out there on the load. If you go to a load board, I want to have those same drivers coming to me time and time again, because if you actually speak to the brokers who live by a core carrier base, they will tell you, especially on a weekend like this weekend, when the open market is at $2,000, your core carriers are still going to be at the $1,500 that are going on, that they've been moving it for, because they know this isn't going to last. That's how you balance this out with your customers, to where when everybody else, like to my example earlier, Cody's staying firm at 2,000 and my dumb ass is, bidding $2,500 on every single load, even though I'm going to win it throughout the weekend because they need it. Next week and the week after that, when that inevitably comes up, Cody's going to win the freight. Cody's going to have priority, and I'm going to be fucking sitting there waiting for my table scraps.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth when about selling capacity too. So, it helps you to be a lot more strategic on bidding too, right? So if I've already won, several lanes from California to Spokane or California to Seattle, for example, right? that's going to help me understand what my real capacity is going into a bid that is going to be, heavy focused on Washington outbound into those markets. So, number one question when you start onboarding carriers, because you're right, the load boards are really there to help you find capacity. But after that, if you're a good broker, you're making sure that you're reutilizing your carriers, you're having your conversations with them. Hey, I know you're running California to Spokane, for example, right now, right? I know you're running this lane for me, but where do you guys want to go? Like, where are you guys based out of? I know that you're running this because maybe you had a truck position there or whatever it is. But what's your power lanes? What are you guys looking for? All sorts of stuff like that. And, within a couple months, you're probably going to get the same driver showing up to the same receiver, showing up to the same shipper. And that's where you actually really start to build rapport with those carriers and your customers. The customers want the same thing, right? They want to see the same carrier. They want to, they start to build relationships with, Capstone, for example, because Capstone seems to be in every receiver, right?
Yeah.
And it just makes your job a lot easier. Your service level is going to be easier. And you can avoid, some of those costly claims, some of those costly mistakes, especially with produce. If you show up 2 days late on a strawberry or cherry load, you're probably going to get a full claim. You need to know that those carriers are going to understand how to get from A to B, and they're going to do it in the right fashion. They're going to make sure that the reefer's set correctly. That's another thing for us is, we have to have multiple reefer checks throughout the day. We have to have temperature recorders, our own, as well as the shippers on there to make sure that everything's good in transit, and you're tracking that 24/7. And, it takes a certain carrier to want to do that. And the more you work with a carrier, better relationship you have with them, the more they're going to understand the needs for that product, that load, that shipper. Right.
Yeah.
So
no, I completely agree on that. Andre, estamos en vivo todos los días on 8:30 Pacific every single day. And yeah, it's, to me, you're extremely right. And it's so challenging, right? Like, it's so easy, like, it's so simple, but it's so hard to apply.
Yep.
Because a lot, again, we don't, like, incentive structures is a completely different fucking topic of conversation. Yeah. But I think that's what really leads into a lot of why people avoid applying what we're talking about here, and it's because, like, I get it, like, dude, I was 25, 26, man. I just wanted to make hella fucking cash and go get drunk on the weekends. Right. And I think that, but now when I'm looking at it as, like, this is literally how I feed my family. This is how I'm building my legacy and my company. It's a big difference between a sales rep's mindset and a business owner's mindset when you're taking this on. But I think that for me personally, is it's like, I get it. I get the allure, right? Like, I get the allure of an extra $2,500 in margin or whatever that looks like. Again, these are all arbitrary numbers, you guys. I'm just throwing shit out there for conversation piece. I get that, but I don't understand how you can't apply this strategy day in and day out, because it's like, if you actually listen to your customers. This is the hard one, right? Because a lot of brokers want to go in and tell a shipper why they're wrong, and this is why they need to do it their way. But if you actually apply what customers are telling you, that means the world to the majority of them. Not everybody, right? Like, there's some large shippers who don't fucking care who shows up to pick up their load, right? And there's probably some small ones. There's always going to be a sector of that. But the majority of them notice. The majority of them notice that you're sending in the same trucks, at least the same trucking company, time and time again on those same lanes. And they appreciate that, because there's that sense of, when that truck shows up, or when Freight Coach Logistics or ANZ sends in a truck, they know that that's going to be taken care of, because they know that that company is just as bought into the way that things need to be done.
Absolutely. And, I have a saying that we stick by is, don't sacrifice your long-term strategy for your short-term gains, right?
Yeah, no, it's very true, man. It's so true. And, because again, and I think a lot of it, dude, it's the society we live in, right? Like, instant, man. We think in an instant transactional mindset, because it's like, man, if I want fucking McDonald's, I can have it here in 15 minutes to my office, right? I don't put that poison in my body, but I'm just saying, and then there's other things too, man. If I want to fly somewhere, bro, I can be in fucking Cabo in 4 hours if I really wanted to, right? Yep. And so it's like, we live in that instant result world where it's like, that's not how business works. And that's why it's so hard for people, I think, to apply. Is it's completely counterintuitive to how you're living your life day in and day out.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That instant gratification is how most people live today, right?
Dude, I'm guilty of it at times. I think we all are. I'm a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. But your easiest sell is your current customers, right? So like from a sales perspective, it's much easier to grow inside sales than it is outside sales.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're taking care of those customers and you're doing a great job. And every single RFP, you're going to get opportunities that you didn't have on your last RFP. And that is so much easier than cold calling 100 times a day. And, getting called every dirty name in the book from shippers who probably got 100 other phone calls that day. And they're just tired of getting brokers calling to ask how, who are you using? What are you doing? What lanes do you run? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, focus on those inside sales because, most of your shippers, especially the larger and medium-sized one, there's always opportunity. If you're one of their top 3 carriers, you're always going to have opportunity, right?
Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. And it's true. Cause dude, I'm out there, man. I'm out there personally making cold calls right now. I'm out there personally sending cold emails. It's coming from me. I know exactly what you mean by what you're saying right there. Cause it's like, this is why you need to value the relationships that you have with existing shippers, right? Like that, you can't treat them as a transaction. You can't treat somebody as I'll just find another shipper, because it's not that easy. Because you're right, man. It doesn't matter that I got 12 fucking years, 15 years, whatever industry experience when I'm reaching out. I'm just another fucking name who's calling them, right? And I'm instantly, not just me, all of us are instantly looped in to all the fucking bullshit behavior that brokers are notorious for. Don't sit here and say that you're not, all right? Because we're all guilty of this. And that's what you're lumped into right away. That's why you're getting we don't work with freight brokers. We're so because there's a lot of shit that happens. And then depending on where you are in the pecking order of the phone call that day, you might be the 20th time to tell somebody to fuck off that day. So again, it's like, but after you follow up, after you continuously reach out, and then when you finally earn their business, right? You finally get in the door. Don't fuck it up to try and make an extra $50 that day. Because that's what it's going to lead to, man. And that's what I think kills so many more dreams than not in the long run. And I know we went a couple minutes over, but I felt like we had to kind of fucking throw that in there. So what's your over these next couple of weeks? Because Cody's going to be coming back, at least on a monthly basis to talk about produce, because he's the fucking produce king in my eyes, and the refrigerated freight king, and he knows exactly what the fuck's going on. So I'm going to have him come back in. But like, what's some things, I know we kind of talked about it, but as we're kind of wrapping up here, man, what's some, breathe some light into the market of, some positive of this is what people can look out for.
Yeah, I mean, the positivity I would say is that it does look like the rebound is happening in produce. So, everybody who is used to everything starting like late March, early April, and it didn't happen this year, don't get discouraged. We're starting to see volumes increase everywhere where they're supposed to be. California is dragging a little bit behind, but we do anticipate that it's going to be a very busy season between now and the 4th. And just, make sure that you guys are positioning your trucks right. I mean, it's like, Chris already did his homework for Nogales and Tampa. I was going to bring that up, is make sure that you're trying your hardest to head to those areas that you're going to get your best rate per mile right now, because it is produce is very, very, very seasonal. So you have opportunities to make some great money, and then you have opportunities where there's just not a lot of demand. And at the end of the day, just make sure you're continuing to build those relationships with your brokers, with your carriers, with your shippers. But don't lose hope. It does look like it's going to be a better year than it was last year, where, typically between the start of produce season and July 4th, we see like California rates, for example, increase about 29 cents per mile. That's about the average last 7 years, taking out the bull crap for COVID. But last year we only saw an increase of 2 cents. It was awful because of the drought and all that stuff. But we do think that we're going to see a much better year this year. So, keep your heads up. There's going to be a lot of opportunity out there, guys.
I love it. But that's going to be it, you guys. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are already mentally checked out for the weekend. But I'll be live on Monday, and then don't forget what Memorial Day is all about this weekend, you guys. Don't forget about that. I'm unapologetically proud to be an American. I'm unapologetically a massive supporter of the United States military and everything that comes along with it. I remember what this shit's all about, and you guys should too, because, frankly, at the end of the day, everything that I've been able to accomplish over these last couple of years is only able to be accomplished in the United States of America. And that's, I don't lose sight of the fact of why it was able to be done that way, and neither should you. But that's going to be it, you guys. We'll be back on Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.